In today's video tutorial, I'm going to demonstrate how to create a really cute ice cream themed cake design. It's going to be made from buttercream and will feature a really tall ice cream cone. This would be perfect for ice cream parties or summer parties, or really anytime you need a super cute, fun, and simple ice cream cake design. Okay, so what we are working with today is an 8-inch tier and a 6-inch tier. We're going to stack them a little bit later, but for our design, I'm going to do striped buttercream. And you might be familiar with this technique. We've done a couple of video tutorials on it before. Today, I'm using this cone, which has the wider stripes or the wider grooves. So it'll be a little bit of a different look. So what I'm doing, I'm going to go ahead and start the process on this 8-inch tier. It's already been crumb coated. I froze it to firm up the crumb coat, and then I just added another layer of frosting. And so it's not completely smooth yet, but I did want to make it a little thicker because the grooves on the stripes are fairly deep, and the deeper that I can get my grooves, I think the better, because I have a little bit more to work with whenever it's time to do the stripes. So I'm going to go ahead and just try to get a clean pattern all the way around. And this process can take a little bit of time. That looks pretty good though. I'm working with my classic vanilla buttercream. You want to use a buttercream that contains butter because we are going to need to firm up the frosting in the freezer, and it will firm up a lot more quickly and a lot firmer if the frosting contains butter rather than shortening. Okay. So I see just a couple of areas. If you have a couple of areas that need building out where they dip down, it's probably because the frosting wasn't quite thick enough. And so I'm just going to go back over those places. And I'm just going to place this in the freezer to firm it up for about 15 minutes. I might go ahead actually first and clean up the top edge. So just as with any cake, I'm taking my angled spatula and I'm just going to gently smooth that excess frosting towards the center and up and off of the cake. And then I'm just going to pop this in the freezer to firm things up, and then we'll come back and kind of fine tune everything before we add our stripes. Okay, so now I have just taken out my combed cake from the freezer. The buttercream is firm, and I'm piping in with, I just have my piping bag fitted with a tip 12, piping in some buttercream that's tinted with Americolor Sky Blue, and I'm just filling in these gaps, and I'm just applying enough pressure that the frosting kind of fills out the gap. And it's fine if it goes slightly over the little white stripe beneath it, because we're going to go back and smooth all of this excess away. So I'm going to try to do this as quickly as I can because I do like for it to be nice and firm. Okay, so now that I've filled in all of my grooves, I'm going to go in with a bench scraper, and this has been sitting in a pot of very hot water. Just going to dry it off, and the heat just helps to smooth things out. And we'll just scrape away our excess. Okay, and it's just going to take a couple of passes over the cake to kind of clean things up, because at first that blue extra frosting just really spreads out. Okay. I'm going to put this in the freezer and just let it firm up just a little bit more. but I think it looks really good. Okay, so I have taken the cake out of the freezer to just firm everything up, and now I'm just going back over it with my bench scraper. And at this point you could use a hot bench scraper if you have a lot of rough spots, or you could just do it cool. My bench scraper is not heated right now. I'm basically just kind of shaving off any places where it wasn't a clean stripe. If your blue is kind of overlapping too much over white, usually the fix for that is just to gently go over it with your bench scraper and remove that excess frosting. But I think it looks really nice. I like this shade of blue. So at this point, I'm just going to clean up the top edge, just like usual. If you're having trouble getting a clean look, just work on it with the bench scraper, and just remember that you can always pop it back in the freezer to firm things up, and then go back over it again with the bench scraper until you're happy. I'm going to do this same process on our 6-inch tier, and then we're going to stack them. So I do like to chill both of our finished tiers in the freezer for about 20 minutes before stacking. Okay, so now I'm going to stack my tiers. I've frozen both of them for about 20 minutes or so. You want to freeze them until the buttercream is very firm. And now I'm just going to put a little fresh buttercream on the bottom tier, just in the place that will be covered by the top tier. Also, I have 4 bubble tea straw supports. This is a bubble tea straw, or you could use your supports of choice. Remember, there is a cardboard cake circle on the bottom of the top tier. So once we stack it, these supports will hit the board and it will keep it from sinking. Okay, so you want to run a thin, sharp knife beneath the top tier to kind of break the seal that forms when you're frosting. I had put a little chocolate on my turntable to keep it from sliding. Okay, then we'll just move this over. And because the frosting is still firm, you can kind of scoot it around as needed. You can also see, if I turn it to the side, I pushed the top tier slightly forward, and the reason that I did that is because of the design of the cake. We're going to have our ice cream scoops continuing from the bottom tier to the top, and I didn't want such a difference in depth moving from the bottom to the top tier with our scoops. So that's just an optional thing, but for me, I thought that might work a little bit better. So now I'm in the process of adding sprinkles. If you'd rather do a simple border, that works too. I'm just using these Wilton sprinkles, and because our cake has a lot of condensation, they really are just sticking right on. But I've also spread just a little buttercream actually on my pedestal to hold the sprinkles in place that are not in contact with the cake. Okay, so for the ice cream cone, I'm using a real cone. If you would rather use a fondant cone or just pipe on a buttercream cone, I think that would be fine too. Because we're just going to use one cone and we're going to need to cut it way down. So what I'm going to do is just use a serrated knife, and I'm just going to gently start off by trimming down the length. This is a waffle cone, but you could just use a regular sugar cone. Okay. All right. Let me just see. Okay, that's probably about right. That goes a little over halfway up the height of the bottom tier. So we can't stick this on here because it would require too much buttercream, and so I'm going to also have to cut it this way to make it more shallow. And so let's see if we can do this without breaking it. Okay. Okay, I think that's gonna be about right. Okay, so now it's time to start creating the ice cream cones. So I have a little buttercream here, and I hope that's enough. I'll put just a little more. I don't want it to come oozing out the side though. I think when I push it in, it should be pretty secure. So just make sure that you are centering it with on the side where the top tier is pushed forward a little bit. And now it's just a matter of adding our scoops. So I've tinted some buttercream and just put them in disposable piping bags. This is AmeriColor Deep Pink, Electric Green, Yellow, and then we have white also. And I've also melted some brown candy coating for hot fudge. The bottom one's probably going to have to be the thickest because we're filling in this hole a little bit also. And I'm going to let some of the frosting overlap and come down just a little bit, just as a normal ice cream cone would, or ice cream scoop, like that. And I'm thinking, so that I'll have more ice cream scoops, I'm probably going to stagger them just a little bit. So this one maybe I'll put slightly to the right. We'll see what we think. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit of my hot fudge. And remember, this is some melted candy coating. And it's just a little bit warm, but I don't want to melt my ice cream or my buttercream. So I'm just going to do a couple of little drips. And then I'll go in with maybe some white. And because now we've moved to the top tier, I might have to build my buttercream out just a little bit more. And then we'll do more pink. And I think I'll have room for one more green. And that one I'll try to center. And I'll also just let it mound up a little bit from behind too. Okay, and now I think we'll just add maybe an extra detail here and there, and you can also go in any places that you feel like need to be built out a little more to just kind of balance things out. And then we'll add just a cute little cherry on top. Okay, so you can see that I've continued to build my scoops, and I've added chocolate chips to the green, like as if it was a mint chocolate chip ice cream. And these are just little mini chips that I just pressed in. And now I'm gonna add more vanilla buttercream. This time I put it in a 2D piping tip. I'm gonna make a little whipped cream topping. I thought it might look a little more realistic with this tip on it. And then we're gonna top it all off with a cherry. And so this is an oversized bright pink circle of fondant. And I'm going to make a stem. So of course this is not meant to be eaten. I'm making a stem out of floral wire. This is just paper covered floral wire, and I'm painting it with a mixture of Everclear, or you could use vodka or lemon extract, and our deep pink coloring gel, just so it will match our cherry a little better. And then I'm also going to wind it around this paintbrush handle just to give it a curl. And you could even make it longer if you'd like to. And we'll just press that in. And let's see, I might need to anchor it with a lollipop stick, but let's just see. Looks like that's gonna hold it. Okay, so I think that's a cute way to kind of top things off. Okay, so our cake is finished. I love how this came out. I think it's such a cute design for ice cream parties or summertime themes. And if you'd like to make it a little simpler, you could skip the stripes altogether and just go with a solid buttercream color for the background. Or if you'd like to add even more ice cream cones all the way around, spaced out, I think that would be really cute too. So I hope you'll give it a try. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.